No. To decline this, thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Happy New Year!
Oh, good to hear you, lady. Bless you.
You too,
Good to hear
brother.
you.
You too.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, Patrick, how you doing, man?
Yes, I'm doing well. It's good to hear you, folks. I'm glad that Aaron was on the line. I appreciate that much. I just wanted to touch base with you, let you know that we're still busy working on the case and stuff. Agnes has worked her fingers to the bone over the weekend and stuff, and she's trying to get copies in the mail. Now, we had some stuff sent to you. The copy of the letter that I wrote to Allenbach, along with the copy of the affidavit that John Joe Timantois made out and didn't sign. And I wanted you to have that to be able to work from, because that's where I'm at with Mr. Allenbach right now. I sent that letter to chew on his backside a little bit to get his brain functioning in the proper direction. He has the ability to fashion a key from what his wife had said to him on her dying bed, to please do all that she could to get Patrick Hoffman free, because she was sure she locked up an innocent man. That's all he needs to put on the affidavit. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be an exact date of when it was sent. It was just sometime in 2004, whenever he was talking with her and stuff, because there was high emotional content at that time, I'm sure. And right now he's still going over that grieving process and trying to close doors there, but he's not functioning properly in showing that yes, she was a human being too. She made a mistake and she's trying to correct that now through asking this of me. That would be the strongest thing to uplift her and him, but he can't see that.
Yep. No, I'm in complete agreement with you, and anything you send to us for publication, I will put in your Dropbox so other people can download that and review it for themselves. And as I read the book, my impression, Patrick, just to share with you like a third party, is it was sympathetic, and it gave some aspects of the story that other people would want to know. But I do agree with your assessment that he's more interested in protecting his wife than he is about bringing justice to a man who's been sitting in prison for 32 years unjustly. He's not he's not focusing on the directive that was given to him by his wife on her deathbed. And I hope that he does sign that affidavit and make it clear.
Well, between that and what Mr. Timantois has said would open the door.
Yeah.
Because it shows that there was a conspiratory plan between the tribal council and the tribal police force to do what they did, to do whatever it takes to get rid of Elmer McGinnis and whoever was supporting him, because it interfered with their corrupt actions, which was dealing drugs on the reservation and stealing the gold off of Mount Tolman.
Right.
That's the long and the short of it. And I just received a letter from the group in the Methow, Washington, some of the old Indian reservation lands and stuff. An attorney for the tribe was putting out a letter noting ethics on tribal council activities and stuff, and they're trying to revamp their stance to make it look like they're doing something additional. But I had written a letter to Rodney Costin, who is the tribal chairman now, and told him about this, what went on, and that Melton Asket was responsible for all of this, and the affidavit that I sent along with it, which was Diamantwah's affidavit, proved that they spent money and sold the jurisdiction and bought notoriety for themselves in order to keep from being pointed at as criminal people by trying to kill a man, trying to arrest him for in a false arrest, and then trying to kill him with pumping him up with Valium and things like that, and then leaving him in the custody of another county jail rather than in the tribal jail, which was where he should have been taken to.
Well, you know, one observation I would make, and I'm interested in your feedback, Patrick. But if your father was so dangerous to the community, and he was such a danger that he had to go be arrested that very night at like 2:00 in the morning, and they had to send all these officers, why didn't they leave a peace officer in the hospital room if he was so dangerous? You know, it doesn't make any sense that they would leave him unattended if he was a dangerous criminal they were trying to make him out to be.
Well, that's the whole point of it all. And on top of that, if we were that kind of dangerous, why wasn't there anything prior to that? Because we had all the time in the world to be able to do the things that they suggested that we had done.
Yeah.
And when they entered the property again on the morning, they didn't go to move Millard or see how he was or anything. Their first move was to try to run into the house, and they shot the dogs, and their reasoning behind that was because they were sure that Elmer might get to his large arsenal of weapons, and there was never any weapons ever produced in court or anywhere else. And that was a lie that showed that they were using straws to try to make up a fortress to support themselves in this illegal action. It's been illegal for them start to finish. Why do you think that the tribal chief of police, after all of this went down and we were in court, he left the organization? And 2 years down the road after that, and immediately after we were found guilty, Johnny Johnson, the Okanagan County Sheriff, leaves there and goes over on the coast someplace and gets a job there as a police chief until he retires somewhere near Shelton. And then the people who were police officers for Okanagan County, there was this deal about this gal coming to Penny with the story that she had overheard Jack Burchard saying something to somebody on the phone that, oh no, they won't ever find that gun. We made sure of that. And the only gun trial that had a gun missing in it was ours. And she told that to Penny but wouldn't make an affidavit of it because 2 people had already been killed trying to show our innocence. And this is what immediately after that then these police officers left because they were getting a new sheriff, and the sheriff didn't like them and wasn't going to put up with their stuff anymore. So they went to Wenatchee and Chelan and down here in the Tri-Cities and stuff, and I believe one ended up over at Lakewood area, and where that officer, those 2 officers got killed in that Witchell's Donuts establishment there years later. Anyway,
well, Mr. Hoffman, I've probably asked you this before, and I apologize for asking again, but can you receive paperback books, and have I ever ordered for you a copy of a book titled "It's All About Power" by Daryl Graff and Steve Schnabel. Have you ever read that book or heard?
No, that
Yep.
no, I haven't. The books that I received from you were I rode with Tupper, and the other one was the Montana Freeman.
Okay, but you can receive paperback books from the publisher. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, from the publisher. Yes.
Okay. I want to quickly share with you this thought because I'm not the only one that has made this comparison. There's a man by the name of Gordon Call in 1983, and he was a World War II veteran, a gunner, and he spoke out against the corruption in the IRS. He spoke out against corruption in our government, and the U.S. Marshals went out and tried to fraudulently arrest him. When the leadership of the U.S. Marshals said, "Forget about it, don't go arrest this man." He had his son with him as well, and the U.S. Marshals provoked a shootout when it did not need to happen, and this man Gordon Call ended up killing two of the U.S. Marshals and went on the run. And his son is Yori Von Call, and he's still in prison after 37 years. And if you compare your case, Elmer McGinnis, with Gordon Call, many people have called you, the native Indian version of Gordon Call and Yori Call, because your father was speaking out against corruption, and they didn't have to have a confrontation, they're the ones who pressed a violent confrontation, and of course, law enforcement officers ended up getting killed. And it's the same thing with Gordon Call. So I want you to be aware of that story because many people are aware of Gordon Call and Yori Call, and you're like the native Indian version of the same story.
Yes. Thank you. One thing we need to do is have the Whitehurst statement to the news on his removing his resignation from Quantico, Virginia Forensics Lab for the FBI, and we also need to get an attorney to be able to do a public disclosure to get the search warrant for Elmer McGinnis's property in '86, and from the federal office in Spokane, and also the return of that, because the return of it, I'm sure, would show the location of the weapon that they claimed that we had supposedly destroyed, because they found it there.
Yeah.
Now, along with that, we also need another public disclosure of the destroyed weapons list from 1986, September, or June, to August of 1990. That will give that weapon, if it's on there, if it was destroyed by them at their position where they put it in the machine to chews it all up into little bitty pieces, that's all written down. The description of the weapon, its serial number, and its firing capabilities at the time that it was destroyed. Those things are there. This prosecutor tried to claim that we destroyed the weapon because we knew that it killed Millard, and the other reason behind destroying it was that it misfired and jammed and wouldn't operate anymore. And that's a crock. The weapon that I had, the gun that I had, would not ever do that. I tried everything, including stuffing it full of mud and cleaning it out with my fingers and stuff and running bullets through it, and it fired every time. So
yeah,
that premise was a crock of manure, just like him trying to say that in his subjective reasoning that I had stood on the chicken coop and had a smile on my face when I shot Millard.
Well, these prosecutors are professional liars. The better they lie, the more money they make, and they're very, very good at lying. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, he's defended a woman that bought a murder because her man had went with another woman and got her pregnant, and she had two people kill this woman, and then he got her off of that. The name is Weaver, the woman the daughter of a judge in Okanagan County, Judge Thomas, and they deal coke. That's a fact.
Now, say that last statement again. You kind of cut out. I didn't quite. What was this last statement you made?
The daughter was named Weaver, and she was the daughter of, her married name was Weaver, but her maiden name was Thomas. She was the daughter of Judge Thomas in Okanagan County, and had gone through several drug trafficking violations and got off here and there with this because her father was a judge.
Okay, gotcha.
They worked in coke, and that's one of the things that was going on the reservation. That's why Hicks was trying to get Elmer so bad, was because that for a while Jim was part of that, and he got caught up in it and had to do time here at Walla Walla also. But Dad, through Cottrell, got his time structure reduced from like 15 years to 5 years and some probation time, parole time. And when Hicks got wind of this is why he became a special prosecutor and pushed in Okanagan County the way he did with all of this. He wanted revenge. He should not have even been part of that because of his vengeful attitude towards my dad.
Right.
So anyway, those are some of the many things that have gone on here, and I stew about it all. And they've, over the 33 years that I've been in prison, I go round and round with this, and all it is one lie put in place to cover something, and another lie put in place to hold that one in place. It's like a roof of shingles on a house. And if you remove one shingle, the whole house comes falling down, because what we have on our side is the truth. And it doesn't matter how many shingles of lies that you put on it. If the wind blows the right way, one shingle comes off and the whole thing comes falling down.
Yeah, they didn't use the right nailing pattern when they put up their lies. I've seen roofs that just absolutely the worst roofing job in the world. So that kind of rings. I empathize with that. But we're praying for you, Patrick.
Well,
I mean, I think the release of this book is positive because it gets more attention to your case. I just pray that people look deeper into the situation.
Yeah. Well, I do too, and I thank you folks for supporting us and caring about us and doing all that you've done to promote the fact that I'm innocent and trying to get me free. I appreciate that.
Well, we love you, and we do believe you're innocent, and I think your case is one of the most egregious cases I know about. They shouldn't have even been on your property at that time of night, and there's no evidence that your gun is the one who killed anybody. And so the fact that you've sat in prison for 33 years, it's time you get out of there and get reunited with your wife. I hope the Lord opens up a pathway for you to do that.
Yes, well, we're looking for that too. It has to come, because my nephew had a dream vision, and I shared it with Aaron.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
He had a vision of a light-haired woman bringing me home on a motorbike, and that light-haired woman was Agnes, because when he met her, he told his wife, "That's the woman in the dream."
My goodness.
So,
how in the world did you even meet Agnes, if you don't mind me asking? Did she write you a letter? Did she find out about you on the internet?
yeah,
You have 30 seconds remaining.
she was asked to write me a letter by a friend, Fred Van Dyken, who was doing a life without sentence from Montana, supposedly having shot a female police officer over there, driving away from them, shooting over his left shoulder, and hitting her directly in the heart.
Wow.
One shot. Yeah. He wasn't even there that night.
Yeah.
Because
All right, that is Patrick Hoffman, 33 years in prison. There's a book that's recently been released about him and his dad and his entire case. It's called Elmer's Tribal War by Richard Allenbaugh, who is the husband of the judge that presided over their case. The best way that I can explain Patrick Hoffman is he is the native Indian version of Yori Von Kahl. Patrick Hoffman should not be in prison because of what the conflicts that Elmer McGinnis had with the local tribal authorities. But yet again, we see a prison and a criminal justice system that will put as many people in prison as they can because they make money off of people being in prison. And Patrick has, I believe, a good case. He doesn't need to spend the rest of his life in prison. I pray you write him a letter, ask him any questions that you have. He's very transparent. And if you want to dig really deep, you can look in his Dropbox and look at the information that we have collected on his behalf, as well as you can purchase the book, Elmer's Tribal War. But keep in mind that the author was more interested in protecting the legacy of his wife, the judge. But even if you read the book, you get a sympathetic perspective about Patrick Hoffman and Elmer McGinnis, and that life in prison is insane. All right. Thank you for your time. The King James Bible is the perfect Word of God. You can hold it in your hand, read it, believe it, and apply it to your life.